All right, so let's move on to the card this weekend. We'll take a look ahead at UFC Paris. Their return to Paris, just the second time ever. The first time was last year. So the first fight on the main card, we're going to take a look at Morgan. Help me out with his last name.
Sherrier.
Morgan Sherrier, Manolo Zacchini, an Italian versus a French guy. Both guys on their UFC debut. The Frenchman, Charrier. The Frenchman, Charrier, excuse me. 3 straight wins, 2 straight finishes, his last 2 wins. And he has 9 losses, 18-9 overall. Only one of those is a finish, so he doesn't get finished very often. Then the Italian, Zacchini, he comes in 11-3 overall. Also his UFC debut, as we said. 2 straight wins. His last 5 wins, it's in his last 7 fights, but his last 5 wins, all finishes. This is a fight that's hard to predict just because we don't know either guy very much. As I said, two guys making their debut. How do you see this fight going? What do you think about it?
So for this one, I think this was a bit of a late notice kind of change up with this card. This was originally supposed to be Giannis Gamori versus Kowlin Lufrin, and then we were going to have William Gomez versus Lucas Almeida, and then everything kind of got switched up. So this fight was actually made this afternoon. And that adds a little bit to the mix of why we don't, really know how to score these 3.
2 young guys, Charrier 27, Zacchini 26.
I think on this one I go with Charrier. I think, with his recent knockout victories, I think those are going to be what's propelling him forward.
But Zacchini has 2 knockout victories as well.
Well,
but I'm going with Charrier as well.
I was also going to say coupled with the home crowd.
That's the only reason I'm going with Charrier is
right.
Home crowd in Paris. The last pirate.
Great nickname.
Win. Great nickname.
Up and comer in the UFC.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yep. Let's see. Kicking off the next fight in UFC Paris, we have William the Jaguar Gomez versus Giannis the Desert Warrior Gamori. Now, each one of these guys were supposed to fight other people, but they made this match together because Lucas Almeida dropped out via injury. Bunch of clusterfucks with that, so we had to kind of move on the fly here.
2 Frenchmen fighting in Paris. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, so honestly, the crowd will be split for whoever their fan favorite is. Whoever your personal French favorite is for that fight. That's a lot of alliteration. I like it. What do you think happens with this fight? It's kind of a late notice. We both knew they were each fighting, just not each other.
Gomez comes in 2-0 in the UFC, 10 straight wins. His 2 wins in the UFC are decision wins, though. He was a finisher before he came in the UFC, so he's still trying to find ways to finish fights in the UFC. But he's taking on a guy in Giannis, who it's his UFC debut. He does come in with 9 straight wins. I think the experience plays a factor in this. I think Gomez keeps it on the feet. He's the better guy on the feet. So I think he keeps it on the feet, and he finishes the fight. I think he gets his first UFC finish, his 3rd UFC win. He's a guy maybe to look out for.
That's good. I also have Gomez winning this fight. The main reason for me, or the main kind of key to victory for me, is what you already hinted at, is he needs to keep the fight on the feet. I think if he keeps the fight on the feet, he has the advantage, and I think he's going to win. I take William Gomez for his home crowd, even though both have a home crowd. UFC Paris.
The favorite French fighter fighting on the feet.
There you go.
All right, so the next fight we're going to take a look at from UFC Paris is Volkan No Time Ozdemir taking on the UFC debutant Bogdan Guskov. Ozdemir comes in 1-3 in his last 4 in the UFC, 6-6 overall. So he's been very up and down, very inconsistent. It seems like he gets a couple wins, gets a couple losses, kind of goes back and forth, up and down like that. He's taking on, like I said, a guy making his UFC debut in Guskov. 4 straight wins, though, in his last 4 fights. All 4 of them first-round KOs. And a crazy stat I saw, his last 2 wins, so that was in March and in November of 2022, lasted a total of 55 seconds combined. So 2 quick knockouts. He's a guy that he is used to finishing people early. I think he comes out, and I think he continues that, and he makes a big bang in the UFC. I think he finishes Volkan in the first round. I like it so much, it's not only my pick. I'm taking it as my first bet of the night, the money line plus 155. Guskov getting the dub. How do you think this fight goes?
So I agree with you on the bet. That's actually my first bet as well. I got Bogdan Guskov.
Bogdan Guskov.
I have him as my first bet.
Shout out Uzbekistan.
I think this fight changes the career trajectory of, kind of that stand. He's what's his name? Ozdemir. He's been a mixed bag, right? You said 6-6 in the UFC. I think,
but he's 1-3 in his last 4, so he's already kind of like.
I think this kind of plants that foot, goes to 6-7. I think he kind of gets out of the UFC after this.
Yeah, you move to 6-7, they might get rid of you.
You got more chances than most people get overall. I agree. Bogdan Guskov, money line, underdog, first fight of the night, or first underdog fight winner of the night. Let's go right here. First and only fight of the lightweight division for UFC Paris. We have Benoit, God of War, Saint Denis, versus Thiago Moises. Benoit comes in 11-1, 2 KOs, 9 submissions, 1 decision loss, and 1 no contest. Moises comes in 17-6, 3 KO wins, 8 submissions, 6 decisions, losing 1 time by KO, 1 time by submission, and 4 times by decision. I slept on Saint Denis last time out. He got a submission neck crank or face crank win over Ismail Bonfim. He was like a plus 230 underdog on that fight, and I didn't say anything positive. Not like I said anything negative about him, but I didn't think he was going to win that fight.
I've been a fan of his. He's the second or third fighter we've had that this is the second fight we've covered.
I think it's the second fighter.
So I think that's going to be happening more in the coming weeks, it seems. We're starting to cover a few. It is exciting. But I think Denis, I'm all on his train. I've been on his train since before we even started this podcast. 3-1 in the UFC. He lost his first fight, but he's won 3 straight. Both of these guys are submission guys. If they had a choice how to finish the fight, I think both guys would want to choke you out. So
right. They have 17 submission victories combined.
So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. If they go to the ground and they try to see who's superior, or what you see a lot of times is both guys just say, we're not going to the ground, we're keeping this on the feet. Right. Either way, it'll be interesting. I do have Saint Denis winning the fight. That's my pick. He's also my second bet of the night. I have the money line, minus 160. He's a pretty heavy favorite comparing to last time how big of an underdog he was. So that shows you the respect he earned in his last fight. And I've been respecting him, so I'm all on Benoit Saint Denis.
I have to agree with you there. I've been kind of not going down, but losing a couple weeks here or there in the betting. And one of the things I told myself I was going to do was focus more on just the money line bets.
Just copy my bets.
Yeah, if only I knew what you were betting in front, I would. So I actually took this as my second bet as well. So it sounds like a copy, but it's not. Watch, this is the week we go 0-3 on bets or something. So then there's nothing to stand on. But yeah, I picked Benoit Saint Denis, second bet. Let's go France. Co-main event for UFC Paris features homecomer Manon the Beast Poirot. Sorry if I got that wrong. I'm doing my absolute best in the French. Fighting in flyweight, 125 pounds. Fighting Thug Rose Namajunas.
The legend.
So Poirot comes in 10-1 in her career, 6 KOs, 4 decisions, 1 loss by decision. 10
straight wins. She lost her first career fight and has won 10 in a row since then, including 5 in the UFC.
That's pretty awesome. Thug Rose comes in 11-5, 2 KOs, 5 submissions, 4 decision victories, only losing 1 time by KO, once by submission, and 3 times by decision. Poirot, honestly, she's perfect in the UFC here. She's beaten people like Tabitha Ritchie, Mayra Bueno Silva, who just beat Holly Holm, and then
on steroids.
On steroids, I have to add, but it was apparently ADHD medication.
On steroids.
And then Katie Chookagian. Look, she's taking on the new threat in the division, moving up. Thug Rose, Namajunas.
Huge step up in competition. Thug Rose is an elite fighter. This is a big step up for Poirot, the Beast.
I agree.
But I think she's up for it. I think she comes in. I think she's the fighter on the rise. I think Rose is kind of the one. You don't know which Rose is going to show up. Is she motivated? Is she not? There's too many questions for Rose. and she's fighting a girl that's just such on a hot streak and looks to be ascending. I'm taking Poirot the Beast in the fight. That's my pick. I'm also, my last bet of the night.
Son, don't tell me. Is
the
this your
over.
last bet? The
My
over?
last bet is the over.
Son
in this
of
fight.
a bitch. Did you plan this to where I had to open everyone so you could say your bet first so it seemed like I copied everything?
I think this is a fight that it's going to be a technical fight.
Oh, this
I
is
think it's
total
gonna be-
bullshit from you.
I think it may be a little reminiscent of Rose's last fight. Kind of boring because neither fighter's going to want to take a huge risk, but I think Poirot gets the dub. And yeah, I can say her name.
All right. Just ask me. Come on.
So what do you think about this fight, Alex?
Yada, 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 yada. Hey, look, I picked Manon Poirot as my pick for the night. And look, my last bet of the night is Poirot versus Namajunas over.
So you see Alex has found the right strategy.
This is some bullshit.
Wait till I pick, take my pick, pretend like you already had it. I respect it. It's not, when we're talking real money, it's not a dumb thing to do. So I can't even be mad.
I like the spin zone.
All right, so let's move on to the main event of UFC Paris.
Patty.
Cyril Bone Gaman Gan taking on Sergey Spivak, the polar bear. Cyril Gan comes in 11-2 overall. He has lost 2 out of his last 3, but he's lost to 2 of the best, probably heavyweights of all time, John Jones, Francis Ngannou. Besides that, he's 8-2 in the UFC. Well, including that 8-2 in the UFC. So pretty much everybody else he beats except for like goats. He's taking on Spivak, who comes in on a 3-fight winning streak. Those 3 fights are after he got knocked out in the first round by Tom Aspinall in September of 2021. So it begs the question, is he ready for the elite competition? He's taken 1 stab at it. He got knocked out first round. Came back 1-3 in a row, impressive fights. So now he's taking on Cyril Gane, who I consider an elite heavyweight fighter, probably the best pure striker in the heavyweight division. So this is a very, very interesting fight. How do you think this fight goes, Alex?
Man, this is a different one. The heavyweights are always crazy. You know, they can be the type of heavyweights where they're gassed going into the second round, and you know they're just heavyweights by weight. But then they have heavyweights like this, where the John Jones, the Cyril Ganes, the Tom Aspinalls, if you will, and in this case even Sergey Spivak.
Yeah, I was about to say he's an in shape guy.
He's a fit heavyweight. You know, it's hard for somebody to be 250 plus, you know, or you know 240 plus, walking around fighting.
The heavyweights have gotten
weights.
so good and so athletic nowadays in the modern era that you can't be an out of shape fat guy like there used to be a couple.
Right. So that's the biggest question here. You know, you asked it. Is Spivak ready to face elite competition? You got Cyril Gane.
Where'd my cinnamon toast go?
He's a second ranked contender in heavyweight. You know, he's, only second to Sergey Pavlovich, and then John Jones is the champion. But more importantly, I think Sergey has what it takes to defeat Gane. Gane hasn't fought since his John Jones fight, since his loss.
Yeah, but that's sooner of a fight than Spivak's last fight.
Right, but what I'm saying is it stays in your head longer.
I don't know, because his only other loss against Ngannou, he came back to the next fight and knocked to...
He did, but that was a decision, right?
No, he knocked him out.
No, the Ngannou fight.
Ngannou was a decision.
Right, so that's a different kind of fight. When you get, I know Ngannou...
he didn't get knocked, he just got gillied.
Well, yeah, Cyril Gane got choked out, but still, that changes you. When you take a loss by actually getting beaten, it's different than taking a fight to the decision versus a man where most people thought you were going to get knocked out. So I think Sergey here is going to win the fight. I'm taking him as the underdog, plus 136. No bet here, just a pick. I like throwing that one out. I think it's a good one for Cyril Gane to get upset.
I have a hard disagree. I think Cyril Gane responds well. I think he stays by what he's been, which is he's better than everybody except for the elite of the elite. I think he gets the win here in front of the home crowd. Cyril Gane, I don't have a bet for it, but I think he moves a 12-2 overall.
So I know we haven't done anything like this yet, but we also haven't had football season upon us. Week 0 of college football was last week. We decided we're kicking things off with betting expansion. Week 1 college football. Basically, we talked about it. We're going to add a couple football bets a week, whether it's college, NFL. We get to pick. Honestly, if you comment, tell us. We might pick one of those if you see a line that is worth going after. Then I can blame a loss on somebody else other than myself. That would be great.
So we'll be given 5 bets total a week, correct?
Yeah, 5 bets.
3 MMA, 2 football?
Yeah, 3 MMA, 2 football. So this week, kind of kicking it off, I have a fantasy football dynasty that I'm currently...
I've never heard of this. You're trying to tank in dynasty.
Right. Well, yeah, you don't really play fantasy, so I wouldn't expect you to know. But I'm tanking in dynasty so I can get Caleb Williams. He may be a bust. My first bet of the college football season is going to be a Caleb Williams anytime rushing scoring touchdown. First bet, college football. What do you have for your first one?
So my first one, I'm a huge LSU fan. They have a big top 10 matchup this week in Orlando against Florida State. They were actually, I think, like minus 150, 160 favorites, just straight money line. So I'm actually taking the spread 2.5. So I'm taking LSU minus 2.5 with odds of minus 110.
Nice.
I think LSU comes in second year under Brian Kelly. They have a team returning with a lot of talent, a lot of guys returning. I think they come in, put it all together. I think they win by 10 plus points in this.
Nice. I could definitely see if they're anything like the 2019 LSU team. I could definitely see something like that happening.
We can only hope.
My second and last football bet, and then we'll kind of just give you like a full recap of all the bets going down this week. If you want to follow any, you can. My second and last football bet of the week is Tennessee covering 27.5 points versus Virginia.
See, that's an interesting one because Virginia is supposed to be very bad, which hints the 27.5 favorite.
Right. And listen, I'm the first to point out that I'm not a big college football guy. I don't watch it. I'm trying to get into it more.
Tennessee is notoriously they had a good year last year.
Weren't they like the number 1 offense in the nation last year?
Yeah, that's very rare. But what I was going to say is they're notoriously
I hedged everything on that.
They have a lot of tradition. They're a team with a lot of hype, and they rarely live up to it. So that's the only reason I'm hesitant. But I do think they handily win the game. The 27.5 just kind of scares me because I could see like a 24-point win. But not a bad pick.
And what's your last bet?
My last bet, I'm going with a slight underdog. It's a rivalry game, South Carolina, North Carolina. North Carolina comes in, I think, ranked 14 or 15 against unranked South Carolina. But South Carolina, the SEC school, SEC always carries a little bit extra weight going into these non-conference games against the ACC school rivalry game. So I'm taking South Carolina, second year with quarterback Spencer Rattler. I think it's the third year their head coach. They keep improving. I'm taking their money line, South Carolina over North Carolina at plus 114. So a little double your money over a little bit.
Nice. I like it.
So those are my 2 football bets. You want to recap your 5?
Yeah, so basically for this, we got 5 bets going into this week. First time ever, we have the same 3 MMA bets. So we both have Bogdan Guskov, money line plus 150. Benoit St. Denis money line minus 146 is what I got it at. I think you got it pretty close to the same thing. And then Poirot versus Namajunas over. And then for the football bets for myself, I'm going to have Caleb Williams anytime touchdown scorer. That'd be a rushing touchdown anytime in the game. And then I have Tennessee covering 27.5 versus Virginia. That's a slight favorite of minus 110 there.
Yeah, so my 2 football bets, as you said, we had the 3 same MMA bets, so no reason to say those again. My 2 football bets, I'm taking LSU minus 2.5 points with minus 110 odds. And then I'm taking South Carolina money line, slight underdog, plus 114.